is how you guys actually even met. How did you get introduced to Aaron? How did you get introduced to our family?
Hmm.
Because your name has been in our family for a long time, though. Again, right, I've met you the one time, uh, 7 years ago, I think you said.
Yeah, I honestly can't say I remember actually meeting Adam. It was in the 90s. I was doing a lot of braiding out of my parents' laundry room. I just was getting clients from word of mouth. And so I'm just assuming like Aaron maybe heard of somebody's hair I did, and then we just developed, he was coming on a regular basis too, getting his hair done. And so that's kind of how we met. And then from there, I just remember him telling me about your family being in the beauty industry. And I remember, meeting your father, and I'm like, oh, I want to be mentored by him, you know? So I think that's like kind of how it started.
He was telling me you were the Instagram before Instagram. He's like, yeah, roll in. He's like, you go through the laundry room, it says just big dudes everywhere. And then she's got this big old notebook with all these pictures, every braid she's ever done. I was like, man, the original Instagram.
That's facts. I have I got pictures literally. I went to my mom's house a few days ago, and she's like cleaning out her garage, and she's got all these pictures that I took when I was braiding out of their laundry room. And I'm like, I just need to throw away some of these pictures. And she's like, you just gonna keep everything. And she's like, no, what if you want to do a documentary about yourself? And I'm like, you know what? Maybe I do need to keep some.
You do have to have the history. So, how old were you when you started doing hair? Because Aaron said you were like a young teenager. I'm picturing like a 12-year-old. Um,
Probably 12,
Right.
14 years old.
Well, I mean, I may have looked like a 12-year-old, but I didn't start making money doing hair until I was about like 16. Like that's when I realized, I think my mother brought her son over. I mean, my mother's friend brought her son over one day, and she asked me how much I would charge. And like that was mind blowing. I was just doing my brother's hair for free all the time. So I'm like, you want to pay me? You know? And so once I realized I could get paid, then going into high school and seeing all of my friends and they needed help, I'm like, I can help you, but it's gonna cost. I didn't know my worth either. I mean, I was charging $5 in the 90s. And my father
Five
came over one
dollars.
day. He was like, China, you only charging $5. I was like, yeah, daddy. Cause that's all I didn't know I could really get, you know what I'm saying, paid. Like my friend's mom paid me 15, but I figured she's like an adult, she got money. So he was like, you need to go up. And I thought my father was trying to kill my business. And I was just excited. But I just like, Daddy, if I go up on my prices, all my clients are gonna leave. He was like, no, the right ones will leave. And he was right. It took me some time to go up, but I think I might have went up of an increment of like $10 and I started making more money. I was like, what?
When did you realize this was like a career? Where was it that first
Mm.
client and your life was changed forever, or did it take a little bit of time for you to realize this is what I'm going to do?
Honestly, it took years because for whatever reason, I didn't see doing hair as like a real career path. And I know that may sound shameful at this point, right? But I think that society literally makes us think that if it's not a doctor or a lawyer or, something of prestige, that it's not a good career path. So for me, it was always a hustle. You know what I mean? From the time, I mean, even when I had clientele coming through like crazy, it was just like, yeah, this is for me to get some side money. And then I'm gonna go to school and I'm gonna become a nurse or, I'm gonna become something of esteem. But I realized that it just never left me. And so I moved away and I was doing hair and I was going to school to become an air traffic controller, right? A whole nother story. And I'm just like, I mean, I only picked this career path because I heard it makes 90,000 a year. And, I mean, literally just driven by money. But I found myself always coming back to hair. So that's when I realized like, oh, this is supposed to be more than just a side hustle. But it really didn't make sense until I got the law changed, honestly.
Got it. So I never heard that story actually about you until 2 days ago. My dad was
Oh,
telling
word.
me that, right? Growing up in the industry, I just knew, okay, yeah, if you're a natural hairdresser, then you don't have to have a license. I knew that. I had no idea you were the reason for that. Can you tell us a little bit about what led you to that path and what that whole accomplishment was like? Because that's actually you beat the state, you beat the board, or
Yeah,
at least
Yeah,
changed the
explain it.
law.
absolutely.
I don't really know about it, so tell me
Yeah,
about
well,
it.
I I moved way to Maryland, and in Maryland, you didn't have to have a license to do natural hair, braids, locks, twists, which was something that I had always done. And so I was out there for 3 years, and then I had an encounter with God. And in that encounter, I just felt like he kept on saying, "Go back to Arizona, go back to Arizona." I'm like, "What?" Like, I don't want I hated being from Phoenix. I hated Phoenix. I was like, "I would never go back there." And in my mind, I thought it was, a little counterintuitive in that, there I didn't really see growth for what I was doing in Phoenix because, it's 6% black, and then natural hair wasn't really a thing in Phoenix. So fast forward, I heard that message and that feeling for so long. It was like almost a year where I was running from it that I was like, I would be stupid to not follow this voice. And so I moved back to Phoenix and I really came back with like an attitude. I'm like, if it don't pop off in a year, I'm out. You know what I mean? Like that was my whole energy. And so I moved back into my mom's house, and my mom, she's a RN, and she was just asking me, "What are you gonna do with your life?" And I was just like, "I don't know. Like I've been, doing hair." But she was just like, "I don't want people coming to the house. You're grown now, and that was cool while you were a teenager." And so I'm like, so I keep kind of having this conversation with God, like, I know you told me to come back out here, but I don't one, I want to live with my mom. Two, I want to do hair. And so she was really stressing that I go to nursing school. So I enrolled in nursing school, but at the same time, I'm still trying to figure out how I can make this work. And so I called the state board of cosmetology and I told them, I was like, hey, I'm a natural hairstylist, a braider. I've been doing hair in Maryland professionally for X amount of years. What do I need to do to be like legal in this state? And they were like, you have to go to school. Like if you touch hair, period, you have to go to school. And so I really thought that that was unfair because the things that I was proficient in, which was braids, locks, and twists, they didn't teach it, nor did they even test on it. So I felt like I'd be going to school for like, oh, it would be a waste. It was like a year plus of my life, 10,000 plus dollars just for them to give me a piece of paper, say, okay, now you're approved. I just like I rebelled against that, right? And so I got off the phone and I was just really frustrated and I just had a conversation with God and I just felt like he was telling me, look for a law firm. Now here it is, I'm 23, right? And this is before like high speed internet. So I'm just like, looking up law firms and I came across the
Yellow pages.
Exactly, exactly. So I'm doing my work. So I found the Institute for Justice and they had just opened an office in Phoenix and they were a nationwide essentially law firm and they had already set the precedent in another state. And so from that point I realized like this something's opening up for me. And I met with the lawyer. He came to my mom's house and by December we filed Essence Farmer versus the State Board of Cosmetology.
And what were the
Yes, I
grounds? What were the main grounds that you guys were arguing on that you should be able to do hair without a license?
Well, I mean, essentially, this law firm fought for economic liberties, and essentially that they were, stifling my ability to make money. And again, like they weren't. I'm learning cuts, color, all of these applications that I'm not going to be doing, and it's not necessarily a hazard in terms of what I'm practicing to the public or what have you.
No chemicals, no nothing like that. So,
Right.
how long was the process? Like from when you got started, right? You said he met you in your kitchen, you guys figured it out, got it started.
Mhm.
How long did that take until it was actually moved and changed?
The process is so funny because remember I told God I'm gonna give him a year, right? So I moved back in August of 2003. I filed my suit in December, so that was just a few months. Janet Napolitano, who was the governor at the time, heard about it because by this time I was on radio stations. I'm on the cover of the business section, the Arizona Republic. Like it became like news. And so Janet Napolitano, she heard about it and she just thought it was just ridiculous. And so what she did was she signed off, which amended or exempted all braiders, locticians, and natural hairstylists. So that happened in like April, but like the ways that laws happen, and like they can write it, but it doesn't actually take effect until a certain amount of time. And so it was actually a completion of a full year from the time I moved back to the time that the law was completely changed. The guy was like, "Oh, what you gonna do now? You gonna leave?"
364 days, you're stuck.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, from that point, I realized that it was for me to move in this direction. It's like, okay, so you're gonna get the law changed, but you're not gonna really take this full steam. You know what I'm saying? Like that don't make no sense. But what really got the fire up under me was that I was in nursing school still because I continued that path. And one day I'm driving down the street on Glendale and I see a braid shop open up. And I'm just like, what? You know what I mean? Now here it is. I got the law passed, but I'm still braiding out of my apartment. And people are moving forward and taking initiative based off of something I got done. And while I was great for them, I was happy for them. It's like, I'm not even moving forward, you know? And so I had clients asking me in my apartment, like, so when you gonna open your salon? And I'd be like, man, I didn't even, it irritated me really them seeing the next level on me and knowing like it's time for you to make a move, you know?
Earlier, you touched base on, I forget exactly how you worded it, but you were talking about just being able to grow within the industry. And
Mhm.
like it's not a lot of, well, you talked about that's what it was, not being the industry, not being considered like prestigious enough, not enough rep behind it. I need to be a lawyer or a doctor, otherwise, I may not be looked at as I've like put in enough work or like I'm really trying to excel in life. And that's something I really feel like the industry really lacks a lot of, is just really options to go beyond just standing behind the chair. I guess
Mhm.
for you, what was your thoughts behind that, and how did you start taking it to the next level? And what was all that spelled out for you?
Uh, for me, I think it's just kind of how I'm built. Like I'm a person that just never wants to be stagnant, and I always want to see like a level of elevation in my life. So I think it comes from just a personal development standpoint. I also feel like it comes from a potential standpoint. Like I know I'm here to leave a mark, and I know that I can't continue to do the same things I did yesterday and uh to show even that level of growth. And so, even when I decided to start teaching, it was like I was forced or pushed into it. It's hard to explain, but it was almost like it was calling me higher even though I didn't even believe that I had it in me, if that makes sense. And so for me, it's the potential I already have, but then it's also I feel like God saying there's more. There's more.
No,
Yeah.
definitely. I mean, in a lot of sense, that's why we started Icons. It's we need more. We need to be challenged more. Funny enough, I feel like within it was the first 3 or 4 months of doing hair, I was like, all right, this is not going to be enough for me. Like I need to be challenged more than this. I'm going to be able to master this within a certain amount of years. I was like, and what's next? I started doing hair at age 19, license, and then I was like, yeah, I need something more than this. And so
Mhm.
Icon kind of a natural progression. There was a lot of things in between managing the salon, owning the salons, and regional educator, Bretonian guy. But it's like I still needed more. I needed to be able to build a bigger platform, something different. What
Yeah.
is that platform for you exactly? I guess because I don't know fully what it is that you're doing on the next level.
Well, I mean, I think that leadership is lacking, integral leadership, specifically like in my niche, there's not a lot of leadership. And so, when I look at hairstylists, I'm looking at how do we build the individual? How do we empower the person? Because when you empower the stylist, they can empower their clientele, their community, and it's just a ripple effect. And so for me, when I recognize that not everybody can like see beyond for themselves. It's I don't know, to a degree, I feel like I've just been gifted in a way to help people believe in themselves, and it comes from me believing in myself, and I think that the true, mark of a leader is one who can lead themselves, and as you lead yourself, you naturally, attract those who are looking to become leaders, but that they have to hold themselves to a standard. So, I know that's kinda like
Oh,
I don't know if
I
it
know,
all
I
makes
like it.
sense,
Got deep. I
but
like
yeah, so
it.
huh?
So you got deep.
Yeah, well, yeah, so for me, it's like I just wanna help empower people to get to their next levels, and that's everything for me. So, we travel and we educate hairstylists on hair techniques, but what Adelaide and I had found is that these women were coming for more than just learning these hair techniques, and we didn't understand what the pull and the draw was, but it was the confidence that they seen, like, "Oh my gosh, y'all picked up and just went to Paris and taught a class," like, they were coming for another reason.
How do you guys communicate that confidence, and how do you teach it? Like what are, if you can say like one main thing that you guys try to do that helps, that you've seen succeed in giving people that confidence that they need?
the confidence I think comes from helping them to really see themselves and to see like it's in them, because you can motivate somebody all day long, but after that source of motivation's not there, like are they going to be able to motivate themselves? And so it's really just digging deep within themselves and recognizing things that they potentially need to heal from. What are the self-defeating thoughts that are keeping you in this rut or in this stuck place? So being able to do that identification work within yourself with a self-reflection, I think, is what helps.
As far as your career, so you've been in the industry 20 years? We'll just say 20
Plus,
plus.
20 plus.
Well,
It's 22, and I've been doing hair since the
well,
90s,
I don't
so
know if we're drawing knocking it
25 at
out,
least.
right? We'll say 20 plus years. What was your biggest challenge, your biggest hurdle that you were able to overcome?
What was your greatest accomplishment?
That's hard to ask. Let
I mean,
me.
you beat the state at 23. I'm sure a lot of other cool things happened since 23.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, I would say that. I mean, literally, changing the law is monumental. That's something that will never go away. So I would definitely say change the law, but I think it wasn't as much as a challenge because I think when you're young, you're fearless. And I didn't really see it as I'm moving a mountain or I'm fighting a giant. Like I just like, I'm trying to braid hair, whatever story I've gotten. I'm not thinking about it from that standpoint. But when I look back at it, I'm like, wow, like that was crazy. But I think one of the hardest transitions I had to make was teaching because I knew how to do hair. I felt very confident in doing hair. And when my hairstyle got published in Essence magazine, I had stylists from all over the country calling my salon asking me, how did you do this style? Like, how did you do this style? And I'm like, to me, it's self-explanatory. I don't know if you all as you can see a hairstyle and know how to deconstruct it and replicate it. But for
Yeah.
me, I was like, why do y'all know how to do it? And so I found myself on the phone. People call me from Jersey, LA, and I'm just like breaking it down. Now, let me just say before that, my father told me I would have a school before I ever had a salon. He was like, you're going to be teaching people. I didn't even know where he got that from. Right. So I always had it in the back of my mind that I was going to teach. And so, but there was a fear there. There was such a fear. I was concerned about what if people fly in, they invest in this program, they get a hotel room, they get a car, and they don't learn and they want their money back. I was shook. That literally kept me shook for almost a year until I just really stepped out and was like, you know what? What's the worst that can happen? But I had to break free of that block that people were going to be dissatisfied. But it was the best step that I ever made, that I ever took.
What are some of the more important or some of the most important investments you've made into yourself when it comes to personal or professional development?
One of the biggest investments I've made is reading. Oh my gosh. When I started to pick up certain books and it literally opened my mind, specifically as it pertains to personal development, the Think and Grow Rich, the Power of the Subconscious Mind, like those really help to put vocabulary to some of my experiences. So it wasn't like I'm fumbling and just like, okay, that worked. I don't know why it worked. Now I'm understanding like, oh, there are certain principles that I was putting in play that now, okay, now I can make this like an intentional thing to where I'm seeing more results and more results because I'm essentially building like a routine. Yeah.
The idea of getting those reps, I'm thinking, as you say that, people know clearly if I want to get skinny, hypothetically, if I want to get in shape, I just run every day. If I
Mhm.
run 10 minutes a day or 20 minutes a day, I will get X, Y, and Z. But when it comes to dealing with, on a serious note, depression, or when it comes to dealing with that lack of confidence when you're in the salon, a lot of people don't have the tools of, okay, this is this way because of this. So I need to do these things day in and day out to keep my mind clear or to remain confident when I'm working with clients or to practice getting out of my box. Um, those books, like I said, I guess give you the vocabulary, give you the tools on how to actually put something in practice, which
Yeah.
is huge.
It's
Yeah.
having a
For
system
sure.
you have to believe in, essentially, what you guys are talking about. Having that system, if you want to become a lawyer, you go to law school and it's going to walk you through these set steps. And at the end of it, you are a lawyer. It's a very clean, clear cut path.
Linear, yeah.
For hairdressing, we have it for to get your license, but that doesn't make you a successful hairdresser. So if you just want to narrow into just hairdressing as a whole, after the fact, how do I become a successful hairdresser? What are the clear
Mhm.
steps? If I do this, this, and that, I will for sure become a hairdresser. And I think that would at least give people confidence in that one area. Maybe they can take some of those fundamentals and apply them in other areas of life. But yeah, I feel like hairdressing kind of needs that too, a clear cut way for the post license hairdresser.
Mhm.
License, how do I for sure become successful?
What legacy do you want to leave for yourself, right? Maybe it's around hair, maybe it's not even around hair. What's the legacy you want to leave behind?
Honestly, to if it's a statement, I don't know if you're talking about when you say legacy, it could be a statement. I think it's about being authentic and believing in yourself, if I were to keep it very simple. And authenticity means, hmm, actually, I got a good answer for you. So my company, right? I mean, so my company is called Rare Essence. So obviously Essence is my name, but Rare speaks to, it's an acronym, is about having a revelation, like have an understanding essentially, about, and A is your authentic assignment, and then R is having a readiness, and then E is executing with excellence. So let me break that down just a little bit more for you. When people have a revelation of who they are, right? Because I believe that when you come into this earth, you actually have an assignment. You actually, but you have to know who you are first. So it speaks to your identity. And then when you find out who you are, then you kind of figure out what it is you're here to do. And your assignment is authentic to you. So you're not comparing it to anybody else. And so there's a level of just what's the word I want to say? I don't know, just pride that you take into it, and you're not confused as to the direction that you should go. I mean, it's not gonna be the most clearest, no. So you have your authentic assignment, and then you gotta prepare yourself. You have to have a readiness, and so a lot of people, they have their gifts and talents, but they don't do the work to get ready. You can be naturally gifted to play basketball, to whatever, but if you don't invest in yourself, continue to, um, train yourself to get better or cultivate it, then you're not going to be where you actually need to be. And then when you execute with excellence, what I find so much is that people execute half-assed, and then they may be very gifted and very talented, but they're not giving the full effort. And so when you give it the excellence that it essentially requires, you are literally standing in your rareness. You know what I mean? And so I think that if I was to leave anything with people, it's like learning what it means to be rare and standing in that, because so many people are trying to fit in, and that's why they're frustrated.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
scared to be weird. You scared to be different. Like, nah, that's actually what makes you that's what makes you great. You know what I mean? Like, it's those people that were willing to take those risks. And so I would just tell people to take the risk and be rare. So yeah, man, there's so many stories. But yeah, when I started realizing my worth, and I didn't know that I wasn't hurting people or that they were getting hurt by other people. I just figured
Yeah.
that's just how
You
I'm
didn't know the
raised.
experience that they had before.
Yeah, exactly, and no wonder they tipping me nice. I didn't know. But yeah.
All right. Well, good to meet you. Thanks for coming on.
Likewise. Thank you, Caleb and Adam. And